Welcome back to Kevin Toll Reads. I hope you're doing well. I am here with two book reviews today in one video. I'm going to be reviewing both of these books. Bernie Rodenbar, book number 2, Travis McGee, book number 1. Let's kick this thing off with Lawrence Block, The Burglar in the Closet, book number 2 in the Bernie Rodenbar series, published in 1978. What a great year. An absolute great year. I wonder why. Anyways, let's dive right in and talk about the summary of this thing. Our fearless burglar, our burglar that you just kind of pulls out your heartstrings, Bernie Rodenbar, finds himself in the dentist chair talking to his dentist, Craig Sheldrake. And in talking to Craig tells a little bit of a story, kind of weaves his way into a tale, and finds himself talking about all this jewelry that he purchased for his now ex-wife, Crystal, and how it's still out of her apartment, and he would like to get his hands on it. If only he could find a burglar. And Bernie kind of understands what he's doing, and he finally comes out and says, it's like, hey, this is an easy job. And the next thing you know, Bernie's questioning, I don't really like having fences. I don't need a fence to tell me what jobs to take. I like finding my own jobs. And at first, he's very apprehensive and says, I'm not taking the job. And the next thing you know, we're getting kind of the story of Bernie in the closet at Crystal's house while someone's getting murdered. And the story kind of unfolds from there. And so what makes this a really good and interesting story is, you have this jewelry, you have this really kind of funny way that he finds himself in this closet trying to hide, and then things start happening, and then before he's kind of in over his head because he was at the scene of a murder, and he doesn't really know who did it, but he knows he didn't do it. And so as the police are investigating, he's kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and lo and behold, the dentist assistant, Jillian, starts reaching out to him after the dentist, Craig Sheldrake, is arrested. And Bernie knows that it won't be too long before Craig is singing to all the powers that be about Bernie Rodenbar. And so he is trying to figure out how to distance himself and what he can do to make sure that he comes out of this unscathed. I really enjoyed that kind of premise about it all. I really enjoyed how Block set up the story in different parts where you kind of get the action, then next thing you know, you're getting the backstory. I really liked Jillian as a side character to Bernie. I liked Craig Sheldrake. I thought he was an interesting character. Even though Crystal dies in this, I liked the 3 different boyfriends as they add a dynamic of whodunit. Why? What's their motivations around all this? There was an excerpt I thought was really funny. It was a part of the story where Jillian, the dental hygienist and assistant to Dr. Craig Sheldrake, is talking with Bernie, and they're kind of working together, and he's social engineering his way into her confidence and everything else. And Jillian is telling Bernie about Craig, and he was arrested, and it was Crystal, and she was murdered. And all the while she's telling Bernie this over the phone, he's pondering whether or not he should get some more of that rhubarb jam he just had on his toast. And it just goes to show you, he's not always thinking about, or doesn't always feel the pressure. And I thought it was really interesting. In terms of rating and overall, I give this a 4.2. I thought it's a quick, fun read. In terms of Lawrence Block and his writing, I really enjoy it. I think the Rodenbar character is a far cry from the Keller Hitman series, the Scudder series, even the Evan Tanner series. Evan, this world traveling guy that has, doesn't sleep. I think this is just another interesting character that Lawrence Block created, and I think it's just really lighthearted and a lot of fun, and so these make really quick and fun reads. So I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4.2 out of 5. A couple other little tidbits I wanted to throw in there as well. I like the fact that in this second entry, we had some returning characters. Ray Kersham, the police officer, comes into play here, and I don't want to spoil anything. I really also enjoyed the fact that Bernie mentions he quit smoking. I also like the fact that Herbie Tannenbaum, which was Bernie's lawyer, has a brief entry here as well. I like when you have a series that has these little Easter eggs and returning characters, whether in big ways or small ways, that keep getting mentioned because it creates this little world. And I really enjoyed that about this one. And so my next book review was the John MacDonald, Travis McGee book number 1, The Deep Blue Goodbye. First and foremost, I want to thank Joseph at Joseph Reads Books. He is the one that we traded some emails, was telling me like, hey, I think you'll really like this. And so before you knew it, I had bought like the first 14 books in the series. And now that I've actually read one, my prediction was correct. I was going to connect immediately with MacDonald as a writer, just like I connected with Ed McBain, and I definitely did. This is a very fun, fast, and quick read, and MacDonald's writing is right up my alley. So this was published in 1964. It's in the genre of mystery fiction. Again, it's Travis McGee number 1. And so a summary of this one is Travis McGee, he's a self-proclaimed salvage consultant who recovers stolen goods for a fee. In this particular entry, he promises to go after and retrieve something that belongs to someone through a family member who had passed, and he will take off the top his expenses, and then whatever's left, they'll split 50-50. And most of the time that kind of setup works for himself and for the people, his clientele, because what do they have to lose? Right now they got nothing, so at least they'll get half of something. And so I thought that was really interesting. Travis is living the good life down in Florida on his boat, the Busted Flush, and we get a little bit of backstory that was really interesting about how he acquired that boat and why it got its name. But he's drawn into a case involving a woman named Kathy Kerr, and he gets that case from this really interesting character named Shook. And she's a very interesting character, and hopefully she's a recurring character, but I don't know, only having read the first entry. But Kathy, her father hid a fortune, and he made a fortune during the war, and it's not really known how he did that, at least initially. And then through a manipulative ex-military conman named Junior Allen, he went out and social engineered his way into this personal situation. And then the next thing you know, he had stolen that family's fortune and figured out where it was and what it was. And now Kathy is asking for Travis's help to go after that. And so that's kind of the summary of the story. What I really enjoyed was Travis McGee. Obviously, being a first entry in the series, we get kind of an origin story. We get to learn a little bit about Travis McGee here. I like the fact that, he's kind of world weary. He's kind of semi-retired. He does kind of the detective investigative work and does it for a fee, depending on if he can, recover things. And I thought that was really interesting. He lives a pretty simple life on a boat. He has a Rolls Royce, which I thought was really interesting. It's an interesting dynamic. It's mentioned a couple times. It has a name as well. But lo and behold, I got to really get invested in McGee as a character here, which I thought was really good. I enjoyed the characters in this story. Kathy Kerr, Junior Allen, Shook, which I'm hoping again that I get more from her. I enjoyed the setting being in Florida. There's the lake, the nautical stuff. There's some ship and there's some action that happens on and off a ship. And so I really enjoyed that. There is a great plot to this. I thought the plotting and pacing by MacDonald is really, really well done. I will say heavily, even though I've read one of these, and I've read one of another novel by an author named Carl Hyacin, there's a lot of similarities between the two of them in terms of word choice and kind of sentence structure. I thought was really interesting. Again, there is another main character in here named Lois, a very kind of scarred, abused woman, and I really liked her story arc, and I liked what MacDonald did with the story arc with that character. and what ends up happening with her as well. And I'm not going to spoil anything there. In terms of excerpts, there was one real good one that I enjoyed. She was one of those women who made you feel like you could conquer the world just by being near her. And that's the most dangerous kind. In terms of rating and overall, I give this a 4.4. I thought it was a great first entry into a series. I really enjoyed MacDonald's writing. I thought the story, the plot was very engaging. I liked the obviously like McGee as the main protagonist. I liked all of the side characters, and the main antagonist, Junior Allen, I thought was an interesting character as well. For something written in the 60s, this was really dynamite. I really connected with the writing. It's very boiled down, very stripped down, which is exactly how I liked these stories. And I'm very excited to continue on this series along with a plethora of other series. But yeah, I knew I was going to like MacDonald, and this kind of solidifies that, yeah, I'm on the right track. I definitely feel like I will be able to give my stamp of approval after I get a few more novels under my belt in the McGee series, but I've got a pretty good hunch that this is going to be another new fave. So that is my take for The Deep Blue Goodbye by John MacDonald. I gave it a 4.4 out of 5. And those are my book reviews for these two mystery, thriller, fiction books, and two good ones from two kind of crime noir, pulpish authors, throwbacks to, 40 to 50, 60 years ago. So a really good review. I hope you enjoy this, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Thanks.